So what I'm going to do first of all then, I'm going to do this weathering in a few stages. First of all, the first stage will be I'm going to put on just a normal flory wash to pick out all the panel lines. Then I'll come in with an airbrush and use a variety of different paints to add some streaking, some exhaust parts, just a bit of fading here and there, and then the final bit I'll come in with some oils and some enamel washes to give it the final finish. Okay, so this one's almost finished. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give it a nice coat of this stuff, which is really useful stuff. So just pour a bit into the lid. So let's just show you what happened on the bottom, just show you how I go about it. So all you do is you spread this over the entire area that you want to use it in. So in this case, let's just do this entire wing. I can also come in a bit and just do some rescribing. There's a couple of little bits I just need to rescribe, but I'm going to do the weathering first and then come in and just touch up where I need to. So just coming in across this wing. Okay, and then I tend to just rub it in with my fingers as well while it's drying. Rub it into all the areas, and then come in heavy. Okay, so that's pretty much dry. What I do then, I'll come in with some cotton pads, being careful not to leave any of the little bits behind because it's, you know, it just leaves a bit behind. But I just use the side of my lip to dampen that off a little bit, and then I'm just going to come in and clean this off the best I can. Okay. So you can see that wing's come up really nicely. All the panel lines really nice. It also shows up a little scratch there, which I won't notice too much. But it's also showing here that I'm going to need to deal with this panel line here, and just around the front here. So there's a little bit of rescribing I need to do. But I'm going to go on and just do the whole thing now, and I'll be back in a minute when we come on to the next stage. Okay, so we've put the flory wash all over, we've cleaned it all off. Now what I do, I just come in with a pair of cotton gloves and I just give it a nice sort of clean up, just so I don't get any, just clean up any fingerprints, and because in a minute I'm going to give it a nice coat of another clear coat over the top, just to seal all that in before we go on to the next stage. So, looking good. Make sure my leading edges, my trailing edges are all nice and clean, no build up of stuff. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to come in and give it a coat of matte varnish. I'm just going to just a light covering, focusing a little bit over where the decals were. So, first wing. so that's given it a nice flat coat. Relatively happy with that so far. So the next day I'm going to let that dry for a bit, and then the next stage will be I'm going to come in and do some chipping around the wing roots and around the cockpit area. We're going to come in and do an oil wash and use some enamel. But I'm also going to come in with an airbrush and just put in some weathering in with an airbrush as well. So I've already started here a little bit. The exhaust fumes and so on. So I'm going to come with a variety of other stuff as well to get that done. So here we go, guys. What we've got here then, we've got our FW190, we've got Dora here. And as you can probably see here, I've done some chipping. I haven't videoed any of this, but I'll just talk you through what I did. So basically, after we painted the camouflage, we put the decals on. Decided in the end to not use the kit decals for these parts here. I made up some masks with masking tape to paint these parts on. The decals didn't go down particularly well in some places were fine, but in others not so great. I think it's just something I'm doing with my decaling. Something I just need to practice. Now what I did then is I put in some chipping along the wing roots here, quite heavily in places. Some of the photos that I've seen, you can see quite excessive wear down these roots on the F190, and a little bit of wear and tear around the gun hatch here and around the cockpit. So not too excessive around this area, a little bit here and there. So all I did, I used a mixture of Citadel bolt gun metal and Citadel chainmail to create this, using just a little bit of sponge to dab this on. I then came in with a brush and just picked up some little bits as well. After we've done the chipping, what I've done is I came in with some life colour or Tensachrome, I think that's how you say it, smoke, which is a little bit like Tamiya smoke, just a little bit more water based. And we've come in with a really thin mix, and we've come along some of the panel lines, and we've just created a little bit of variation in the weathering. Okay, some staining. So as you can see here, you can see I've done a little bit of staining from the ammunition chutes that eject where they eject out, and just around the nose and so on. So just a bit of variation, a bit of just soot and accumulation. I've also masked off, so you can only just about see, it's very subtle, masked off the ailerons and just gave it a bit of shading and so on. So really happy with it so far. What we're going to do now, just move those bits out of the way, using my JH Models jig, I'm going to come in and I'm just going to lay this on the jig. I'm going to come in and I'm going to do some oil washes and things like that. Okay, so I'm just going to add some streaks to the underside and so on. So I'm just going to get some oil paints out and then we'll get going. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a little splodge of colour, of the oil colour, onto a piece of cardboard, and that will help draw out some of the oil to help it dry a little bit quicker. It's the grease colour, that's an important one for later on. Some field grey, which looks more like green. Faded grey. Some white. So a variety of colours. So let's just do one wing first of all. So what I'm going to do first of all, I'm just going to come in, starting with the light colour first. I'm going to come in and put a few dots here and there. The yellow. Okay, so you can see a whole load of dots. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to get myself a tissue to just wipe the excess off onto. I'm going to take some thinners, so in this case it's just odorless turpentine, and I'm just going to come in and just drag this oil paint across the surface of the wing, going in the direction of the airflow. Okay, and then just work it into areas. Then I'm going to come, just take the excess off and come in again. This time just doing exactly the same. Just working it into areas like so. So what you should be able to see now, if I just hold this up, what you should be able to see a very, I don't know if you can, just a very, very subtle variation in colour. Okay, and so just a nice grimy appearance to that bottom of that wing. So you may be able to see the difference, you may not in the paint, but hopefully in the photographs it will show up. But there is a really nice variation there. So that's stage one. I'm just going to do the rest of the bottom using that stage. Okay, so that's the bottom. Just coming up with a sponge with some thinners on, just tidying up in some areas where it's just a little bit over, built up a little bit too much. Okay, so relatively happy with that so far. Okay, so next job is I'm going to be a bit more specific about where I put stuff. Okay, so now I'm just putting some streaks on, but being quite deliberate where I'm putting it. Okay, so this time just going to create some okay. I think some of it's a little bit excessive, but so I'm just going to come in with a cotton pad with a bit of thinners on and just dull that down a little bit. So here we have the Dora. It's been weathered down with some oils. Where it's been too much, I've just taken it off with a bit of white spirit on a cotton pad, and so it's going to come in and just clean up in different areas now. Okay, so we've come in and I've touched up some of the bits that I wasn't quite happy with, so I've got the airbrush out and just redone some of the cowling, just to sort of mute down, just a really light coat of the original colours, just to mute down some of the effects, because I thought they were just a little bit heavy, and so in areas like this. So I'm going to come in now and add a little bit more weathering. So this time I've never really tried these before, but one of my other things that I enjoy doing is drawing and painting. So I've got quite a lot of art equipment, and these are a set of some of the watercolor pencils that I have. And I saw in one of the books that I bought, the Encyclopedia of Aircraft Techniques, I saw some use of these, so I thought I'd give them a go. So I've just got some, you know, some colours that sort of match with the aircraft, and I'm going to just have a go at just adding some of the detail in here. So I'm going to use this light green here. I'm just going to put some scuff marks along some of the areas. Just so, now obviously this has been given a coat of flat. Now you may not be able to see that very well, but it just gives it a really nice subtle effect. So I just want to try, let's just get rid of this for a minute. Get my mouse pad just to protect the bottom. Okay, so I'm just going to come in and just maybe, right, now what I'm finding is in the areas where it's quite flat, the flat paintwork, it's sort of adhering better. I'm just going to come around those little areas, but I'm only looking for a really subtle effect really. I'm not trying to overdo it, because they're quite soft pencils. You can rub them in, you get a variety of different effects. So I think the key thing here is, you may be able to see some detail here, but the key thing is the watercolor pencils are quite soft, and it's quite important that when you're applying that the actual surface is very flat, because otherwise the pigments don't really want to stick to it. This green is working really well and just gives it a nice contrast with the silver chipping. So for the flat coat, I'm just going to use some extra acrylics flat varnish to start off with, and just give that a light dusting over everywhere I've worked. Right, so that's been given a coat of flat varnish. I'm just going to come in now. I think what I'll do, I want to maybe pick out a few more panel lines with an enamel wash. I want to add some more defining exhaust stains out here. I've got to add the exhausts in here in a bit. I haven't painted those yet. Don't want to forget those. I'm going to just put a few more little streaks in using an enamel wash. Then I'm going to have to come in and maybe pick out some of this. I might put some chipping along the front here. But generally, I mean, you could call that done. It's nice and subtle. It's nice and weathered. But there are a couple of bits I just want to focus on now. Okay, so what I've got here, I've got a variety of different washes that I'm just going to come in and do now, using a post-it note as well, just to mask off areas or some. So let's do the bottom first. I'm pretty happy with most of the panel lines. There's a couple I need to just tidy up. So let me just show you how what I do here. So what I'm doing here, I'm going to come in with, this is winter streaking grime. I'm just going to come in, just going to add some streaks in here, in areas. So I'm just going to mask off this aileron here, and then I'm going to come in take off the excess and just come in and Okay. So it looks like the build-up's come from that panel. Okay, and so just gonna go around and just check that's alright. So I'm just gonna come in quite here and just mute that off nicely. Got only a tiny amount of thinner on here, just so that it streaks nicely. Okay, so that's how I'm going to go around the whole aircraft now and just pick out little bits, adds a little bit more streaks. So yeah, I'll come back in a minute when it's all done. Okay, what I'm doing now, I'm coming in with a thin panel liner. I thinned it down quite a lot and just coming in and just adding a few little bits, but I don't mind, and because it's a flat surface, it's spreading out into the surrounding area a little bit, but I quite like that effect. It gives it a nice effect of staining. But I can also clean up any areas I don't want a bit later. So I'm just coming in here just to bring out the detail of the wings a little bit more, and where the weathering is just dulled down the panel lines. Okay, so I'm just going to do that over the whole model, just picking out the panel lines I want to bring out, and then I'm going to come in and clean it off a little bit. Okay, so we've completed most of the weathering now on the Dora. I've come along and sealed it all in with a flat coat. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to come in and do the final bits. I need to put the propeller on and the spinner. Need to have a go at putting the exhaust on, putting some more exhaust stuff down the sides, and just a few oil leaks from underneath, and then we'll put the fuel tank on as well. So this one's really almost finished. Now the weathering, the pencils and the washes are all done in layers, just adding more as we go until I'm happy with the result. I'm happy with that now, and so we're going to get on now and do the final stages.